first of all, this is a class for beginners, focusing on basic workflow with some tips for getting started and a definition of terms. This is not a class for template building or editing of those templates in EMR. So we are going to start off in the EMR ability, or EDR if you're using MacPractice DDS. The abilities are one and the same, they're just labeled differently depending on the flavor of the software you have. MD, DC in 2020 will have EMR. MacPractice DDS users will have EDR, but it's the same ability. So once we're in the EMR ability here, we're going to go to our Shared Forms node in the sidebar. Now, when looking through our list of shared forms, I recommend choosing the form versions 3 and 4. Those are chosen usually by default, and that's going to give you the best selection. So I'll go ahead and just hit apply right here, and this will give me the list of all available templates that we have for you by default in EMR. I can go ahead and click on this form name column and organize these alphabetically, or organize them here by specialty. As you can see, we have quite a lot of general use forms, as well as many other specialties here. Some of these templates are just a single form. You can see in the description it is one form here that we'd be downloading, but many of them are bundles. You'll notice if I scroll down here to one of the general use, such as the general H&P bundle, this one is going to have 10 forms that I'll be downloading. When you find a title and a description that sound good, you can go ahead and hit the download button here in the bottom right corner. MacPractice will then begin downloading that bundle of templates. The download may take a little bit longer depending on the speed of your computer and depending on how many templates it's trying to download. Once the download is complete, you will notice that the pop-up happens saying that the download is complete here. We'll go ahead and hit OK. And now those 10 forms that we chose to download are going to be in our pink downloads folder right here. You can open up any folder or node in the sidebar by clicking on the triangle to the left-hand side. Once I click on that, I can see all those general H&P forms that I just downloaded. When you're first getting started with EMR, I recommend looking through these templates and interacting with them, perhaps with a test patient, for example, going through and practicing filling these forms out and seeing how they work. The EMR support team can help you make minor changes. Say, for instance, as I'm looking through this form, you can see there is a chief complaint and HPI. There's basically 1, 2, and 3. Maybe I only want one of those areas, and I just want to delete these additional sections here because the form is too lengthy for me. Something like that would be considered a minor change. The EMR support team can help you make those minor changes, such as deleting sections, rearranging the order of sections, maybe adding a new section even. But for major changes, or for building an EMR template completely from scratch, you have one of two options. You can choose to do a custom forms project or do the template builder. Now, a custom forms project is basically where you would send in your paper form that you're wanting to build an EMR from scratch, or email one of our EMR support reps who is a forms builder and who can build those forms for you for a fee. I recommend this option if you are just wanting to get your 1 or 2 forms built and then you're done and that's all the forms that you're using in the office. The other option is the template builder where you can do it yourself. This option is rather detailed and it almost always does involve a training session to learn how to do that on your own. That option I would recommend if you plan on building many forms, if this is going to be an ongoing process where you want to have the knowledge of how to do it yourself, or if you are a computer person and you really like to um, do these things yourself and you're a fast learner. So custom forms project or template building. Otherwise, if you find we do have a lot of forms available and you'll potentially find a form that works very well for you. If you do and you just find minor changes you want to make, another one, for instance, say I want to take this needles option out of here, but I do want to add a different option for quality. That can just be a quick phone call with our EMR support team. Now that I have my templates downloaded here, let's go ahead and talk about some terms that we use in EMR. This will just help you to be familiar with this as you're working through your forms and also whenever you need to contact EMR support for help or for a question. First of all, we have templates. So everything that you've downloaded from this shared forms node and everything that is contained in these pink folders here are going to be your templates. A template is the generic outline of your form. So these templates, they are not patient specific. As you can see at the top, there is a space for the first and last name, birthday, age for person, so on and so forth. These things do not contain any patient information. This is just the template that will be filled out for anyone and everyone. That's a template. It is called a form when it does have patient information and it's filled out and it's patient specific. Those are contained in the blue folders. So pink for templates, blue for patient forms. A template or a patient form is made up of sections. Those are the building blocks for your forms. So as you can see when I click on this, you see the orange squares on the sides here, and you can also see they're separated by those dotted lines. Every single one of these is a section. And to get even more specific, sections are made up of elements. So these checkboxes, these are all elements. Where it says other quality here, this is an open text field, that's another element. This duration combo box is another element that you can use. So the elements make up the sections make up the templates. And you use your template to create a patient-specific form. Let's take a moment and talk about template categories. So as we saw, when we download something from the shared forms, it goes into our downloads folder by default. You can create as many of these pink folders to contain your categories as you want. For some smaller offices, you may just have 2. You may have the downloads folder, which would be used to contain all of your recently downloaded forms, and to kind of take a look through these and practice with these, see which ones you like and which ones you don't like. Then the ones you want to keep, you could drag into your one other folder, which would probably be the general folder, or a folder that's simply labeled forms or something like that, or templates rather. When you find a form or a template that you wish to keep, you can simply click on it and drag it into the appropriate pink folder. For some larger offices, you may choose to have more pink folders. You can organize these by type of visit or specialty, such as the cardiology folder that I have here. Or some offices choose to organize them by doctor. So if Dr. Smith has her list of forms that she likes to use, they can all be in that folder. And you can create other folders for the other doctors. It's entirely up to you how you want to organize this and how many folders that you use. To create new pink folders, you're just going to go down to this green folder right here called EMR Form Category. If I click that triangle to the left-hand side to open that, I can see here are the names of all the folders I currently have. To create a new one, I'll just hit the green plus up here at the top of my sidebar. And I'll go ahead and type in my new category. You can give it an order to rearrange the order of these folders here. We'll just put this one last on the list, and then go ahead and hit Command S to save. Notice as soon as I hit Command S, now I have a brand new pink folder on my list. Now as I'm looking through these downloads, choosing the forms I want, I can drag them into my specific folder. Now let's go ahead and talk about the basic workflow. The first thing you'll want to do is select your patient. If you're working from the schedule, you can obviously use the right-click menu and go to that patient's EMR form. Or since we're already here in EMR, we can just click on our patient selector here and search for our patient. Once you have your patient selected, then we're going to continue to work our way down here, and now we're going to select our form. So you'll open up your specific folder, find the form that you want to create, click on that template, and then we're going to hit that green plus button up above here. Watch what happens when I hit the green plus. It's going to take our general H&P template and turn it into a patient form in this blue folder down here. So I'm going to select my form, hit the green plus button, and now as you can see, I have a patient form created. My patient information has been inputted in the top here, so you can see I have the patient's name, date of birth, age, and gender. And now I can go through and fill out my form. One other thing you'll notice about EMR is that we do have this additional window here. This is called a palette, and this can be used to do various things in your patient form or in your template, and it's most often used for template building when you're creating and editing your own forms. And you'll become more familiar with the palette as you get used to EMR. In addition to that, you can see I have a sidebar off to the right here labeled sections. This is basically my table of contents for my form. And this can be very useful, especially for those long forms. So let's say that we have multiple clinicians in the office that are working on this form. Maybe I'm the nurse in the office and I just want to go straight to my vitals section. I can go ahead and come over here to my table of contents and just click on vitals. And now, as you can see, vitals is up across the top here, and it takes me directly to that section without the need to scroll through that form. So now that I have my patient form here, I'll just go ahead and start filling things out. Remember that if you ever have a date field in MacPractice, no matter where you are in the system, you can use your shortcuts T for today, Y for yesterday, and M for tomorrow to quickly put in that date. You'll see some pop-up menus. A pop-up menu has the double arrows here, and it gives you a limited list of options to choose from, such as physician. The pop-up menus that have a single arrow pointing down, these are combo boxes. It does give you that list of options to choose from, but it also gives you the option to add something on the fly. So it's like a combination pop-up and free text field. We have our checkboxes here. And then we also have this element called a progress note. I couldn't think of the word for a second there. So our progress note is going to have a set of options, sort of like that pop-up menu, but this is kind of like a macros or a text expander. So for instance, if you want to edit this list, just click on the edit button next to it. It'll flip it around here for us, and then we can edit these options. So backache, for instance. I can tell MacPractice that when I click on the word backache, I want it to type out the following sentence. I can add new options to this list by clicking the green plus button, or delete options from the list by clicking the red minus. Once I'm done making these edits, I'll just hit done. It'll flip me back over to the main side where I'm filling out the patient form. Now you'll notice when I choose my backache option, it plugs in that sentence for me automatically. I'll just scroll through here or use my section sidebar to choose those various sections and fill out my form. At the end, you'll typically see a billing section and a signature section. You can click on Start Signature here. It will come up really big with a where you can click and drag your mouse around and sign it. Hit Done, and it'll take us back to our regular screen here. We can check the box that it's been signed and select the provider who signed it and type in our date. Whenever you're done filling out your form, or you're done for now, go ahead and hit Command S on your keyboard to save. If you hit the Command and / keys on your keyboard, you can flip the form over to the narrative side. And these are some more terms that we use in EMR. This side that we actively fill out is called the form side. This side that is printer friendly is called the narrative. And again, that shortcut is Command /. Or you can go up to the EMR menu at the very top of your screen and use your toggle narrative / form option. Here's that keyboard shortcut right there. That's what it's going to look like on your keyboard. Once a form is completely done, so you don't have to come back to this form and make any future changes, no one else in the office needs to access this form to change or add things to it. At that point, you can go ahead and lock your form. There are a couple of different ways to do this. If you prefer working with your palette here, you can go ahead and click the button right here that says Lock Form. Otherwise, over here in your left-hand sidebar, you can grab that patient form and drag it into the Locked Patient Forms folder. Once the form is locked, you'll notice that it is stuck on the narrative side, and I do not have the option of flipping it back over to the form side to make additional changes and edits. If you find after the fact that you ever need to unlock a form, watch what happens when I click on Unlock. It's not going to just allow me to unlock that form. It's going to ask me if I want to archive and duplicate. This is going to save a copy of this old form exactly as it is now in my archives. So if I ever need to go back and retrieve that record, it's going to be there. And it will just duplicate the form with all of its current information and put it back into that patient form folder. You always have to type in a reason for the archive here. Click the archive button, and then that locked medical record will be in the archives, saved just the way it was, but now I can go in and fix those mistakes or add the information that I need to add using this new copy of the form. Talking about the workflow of EMR, a good workflow for a single provider office is moving these forms to locked when you're finished with them. So for instance, if you have a nurse or an assistant who is working on the form first and filling out certain sections, and then the doctor needs to finish the rest and sign at the end, or even just with a single provider, starting to work on the form while the patient is there and then finishing it at the end of the day. As the people in the office are working on the form, definitely hit Command S and save your work as you go. But leave it in this folder until it's completely done. So as the nurse, for instance, I could go through and I could fill out my assigned sections. I'm going to hit Command S to save, and then just leave it there and move on to the next patient. That way, every single form that is here in the patient forms folder, the doctor now knows that this is their to-do list. This is their checklist of forms they have to go through and complete and sign and move to locked. So once that patient form folder is empty, then basically, in essence, our checklist is complete and there is no more work to do. For a multiple provider office, I recommend using the side drawer. The side drawer can be opened by clicking on the little drawer button. Looks like a little tab down here in the very bottom left of your screen. as you can see, we can add folders here. And you can click and drag patient forms into these folders. To create a new folder, just hit the green plus up here. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock this form for an example. So it's here in my patient forms folder, and let's say that this is a form that Dr. Ripley has to finish. I'll just grab that form with my mouse, drag it over to Dr. Ripley's folder, and let go, drop it in there. That way, at the end of the day, Dr. Ripley can just open the drawer, click on his assigned folder, and then go through, double click on each of these forms or each of these list options, and it will take him directly to that form so he can complete it. Once he's completed this form, he should move it to locked. And then delete this item off of his to-do list by clicking on the red minus button. Whatever is deleted in the sidebar is not a big deal because this is just a list, sort of like writing it down on a piece of paper. Deleting things in here is not deleting forms. Now let's talk about pulling data forward. For this, we're going to go to our preferences. So go up to your MacPractice menu in the top left of your screen and click on Preferences or use the Command comma shortcut. We'll then go to our EMR preferences or EDR and click on Data here in the middle. Now you have the option when a new form is created for a patient, how do you want the sections to look? So currently we are starting with a blank form every time. But if you don't want to redo all the work on those sections, and some of those sections you wish to pull forward the information from the previous visit so you're not starting on a blank slate every time, you can choose one of these other options. You can start with data that was most recently updated for that patient, start with data from the most current visit or most recent procedure date, or you can have MacPractice ask you what to do for each section. So let's take a look at what that looks like. I'm going to go back to my general H&P template here in my downloads folder. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the green plus. Now you see I have this pop-up that says, please choose the sections to pull data forward. And it will give me every single section that I've filled out in the past. So perhaps I don't wish for the signature to pull forward, but I do want things such as the patient's information to pull forward, perhaps not time in and out, and I will decide to pull forward that chief complaint in HPI 1. So I'm going to go ahead and pull selected. Once I check and uncheck all those boxes, MacPractice will remember the way that you had this next time it comes time to create a return visit form. I'm going to pull the selected information. And now, as you can see, I have that information already entered that I had entered in those sections before. Now, one last thing before we move into our questions time. If any of you are experiencing slowness in EMR, one way to potentially resolve that is going to be by clicking and holding on the EMR ability icon in your toolbar. It may be because you're loading all records. You can set this to a week or a month, and that will speed things up for you in EMR considerably. And of course, depending on the speed of your computer. This is actually referring to all the records that are being uploaded in the background for all patients. When I have Harry Potter selected, for instance, as my patient, it is still going to load all of his patient forms, even ones that are over a week old. This is just referring to the background work where EMR is loading the rest of my patient's forms in the background. Remember, call EMR support or pop the bubble in the bottom right hand of your screen if you need to make any changes to these EMR templates.